Colin was wrong.
Yeah, the Bengals will not bounce back and be a playoff team. Listen, Joe Burrow had a bad pick. Welcome to the NFL. He's got 12 TDs and 2 picks this year and 114 passer rating. They are so bad defensively, and they were short-sighted letting Joe Mixon go because he could at least help time of possession. They are second worst defense in the league. The game was wildly entertaining, but I mean, this is what you do when you're literally selling off parts a year in advance of having to pay Jamar Chase. This is what it looks like, a track meet every Sunday.
Where Colin was right.
I said Cliff Kingsbury was the hire of the offseason, that he and Jaden Daniels would make the playoffs. It's better than I thought. But right now, offensively, this was my shock pick in the NFL. Last year, Houston was shocked everybody. I said, this is the team that'll make the playoffs. I didn't think they'd be this profound. Third straight game with at least 34 points. But Kingsbury, he had used this offense, similar styles, to other young quarterbacks. So Jaden Daniels and Cliff was a predictable and ideal fit.
Where Colin was wrong.
You know, I thought the Bills were over their nonsense, but once again, it's a franchise with a brilliant quarterback, and you can't trust them in big spots. Their late game management yesterday was unforgivable. McDermott is, I think he's organized, the structure's in place, but I don't trust this team. Josh Allen was 1 for 16 on throws of 10 yards or more. He had one of his worst games, and they're the opposite of the Chiefs. In big spots, I have no trust for Buffalo once again, which has been the story for years.
Where Colin was right.
Caleb Williams, I said, it's going to take time, but I predicted even if they only win 7 games, you'll feel better about it. 4 straight weeks, the passer rating is improved. And here's the thing. Now they have a semblance of a run game. C.J. Stroud, as good as he is, it's not the same. So Caleb is more poised. His first 10 quarters, he had a 57 passer rating. In Caleb's last 10 quarters, it's right up against 110. The Bears are 3-2, and regardless of the total wins, they finally have a franchise quarterback in Chicago.
Where Colin was right.
I picked Denver as the best over-under bet in the NFL. I said their personnel offensively is better than you think, and Bo Nix right now has them on a 3-game win streak. And this is a football team that's defense is surprisingly good. But Vegas had these guys at 5.5 wins. And I'm like, we don't know. They should get 2 with the Raiders. We don't know how good the Chargers are going to be, and their schedule was kind of workable. Right now, Denver, it's not ridiculous if you look at their schedule to think if they don't make the playoffs, they could knock a few teams out of it in November and December.
Where Colin was wrong.
USC is not ready for the Big Ten. Pushed around by Michigan and pushed around by Minnesota. The Golden Gophers played with more intensity, more urgency, more passion, and they were more physical. They ran for 193 yards. USC's bad tackling from years past has reemerged. They're 5-7 in their last 12. They better pray their left tackle doesn't get hurt because they have no depth at left or right tackle on the offensive line, and they just don't have enough high-end elite players. And now Lincoln Riley is getting, to me, impatient. The wall's closing in. Listen to this silly thing after the game.
Jamil, do you feel like that last touchdown they got in from Minnesota?
No, don't ask him.
Yeah, about to say that.
Don't ask him. Yeah. Next question.
On the third,
who cares what he says on that? Like what, player's opinion? Let's ask a more professional question.
Oh, brother, grow up. It's
Where
USC.
Colin was right.
Kirk Cousins, first place. Media was crushing Atlanta for getting Kirk and drafting Penix. And I said, are you telling me it's a problem in the NFL to have the best quarterback in your division and the best backup? Kirk's a total pro. Unflappable. High IQ and EQ. He compares to me favorably with Dak Prescott. You cannot tell what he's done when he gets to a big drive late in the game. He's not moody. He doesn't pout. He's a pro. He's responsible. And once again, Atlanta who I picked to be a potential #1 seed because of their schedule. It looks like the young guys are coming around. Kyle Pitts finally is emerging. It takes some guys a while. How about that?
Where Colin was right.
Expectations create happiness. And I looked at the Jets and I thought, don't love the OC. O-line could be good, but it's a lot of new parts. Quarterback's 40 off of surgery. Like the defense a lot. Everybody's going to blame Saleh, but I like it. And I said, boy, if Garrett Wilson sprains an ankle, I'm not sure what I have on the outside. I look at the Jets, and is it just about expectations were unrealistic, or are they playing terrible? I mean, Minnesota's rosters offensively is elite. Maybe this is just what they are, a solid team that's going to be like 8 wins and not 12, which was predicted.
Well, I agree with you about the London game. Sometimes time zone, field surface, you go over there as a tourist instead of a business trip. You know, there's a lot of kind of funky stuff that goes into that. But I've been saying for weeks to you, like, I just really don't love watching the Jets offense. They just look like they're a one-man show. I feel like I'm watching an NBA game where it's like, hey, everybody clear out and let me do my thing. And I just don't think that's the best thing at this point in Aaron Rodgers' career. I think you can have a ton of success with him. I think you can be a Super Bowl contender with him, but not this kind of offense. This isn't it. Again, he needs to be a point guard, not the Michael Jordan running the 3. And that's what you see right now. And then I also think there's like an element of like togetherness and joy that comes with teams that are like smiling, hugging, high-fiving. And I just don't think you see that right now. And maybe it's because they're not playing great. But there's a lot of room for improvement with this Jets team right now.
So I said before the season, I said, listen, the windows in this league, because there's a regulated level of violence, they close really quick. You thought the Seahawks was going to last forever. And like 3 years in, you're like, uh-oh, we got to get another trophy. And I went into the season with San Francisco, and I said, the names are big. Debo and Kittle and Christian, but I'm like, come on, guys, you can't keep relying on guys. They're a very physical operation. And I watch them, and Purdy's going to get beat up a little bit because, you know, everybody's like Brock Purdy, he this. But my takeaway is, without Christian McCaffrey, they don't have a lot of juice in the red zone. I like a lot of elements, but I don't fear them. It doesn't feel that. It's almost like the names, Matt, are bigger than the players in production. Like, I know they're great, but I watched them, and I watched Arizona yesterday, and Arizona had the twitchier, younger, tight end, running back, more athletic quarterback. And I'm like, I'm not so sure Arizona's not as good. We don't like their name, but what do you make of what the Niners are now?
Yeah, well, Arizona's coming on, but I wouldn't give up on the Niners. I mean, the Niners are a really good team. They have not been able to keep leads. I mean, they've blown a couple leads this year. Otherwise, we would think about them differently. But we're going to find out because it gets tough for the Niners. They go Thursday night at Seattle. They got Kansas City. They got Dallas. I mean, we're going to find out real quick what this team is made of, and I think they're made of the right stuff. I mean, I believe in the quarterback. Obviously, they got to improve, but I think that sometimes you can almost improve more as a team when you have tough losses. Like when you win, sometimes you just sweep some stuff under the rug and like, oh yeah, but we won. When you lose, you look at everything, and they will get their horses back at some point. And they'll be a different team.
You know, I've compared Dak to Kirk Cousins, super high EQ. If you just dropped into a game in the third quarter and Dak had 4 picks, you'd never know. His personality doesn't change. Same with Kirk Cousins. There is something about, in a vanity-driven franchise, his maturity. He's an adult. We had some cultural changes in America a few years ago, and Dak in a conservative town with Jerry Jones, like just good at the podium. And I watched him last night. You did this for 18 years. I think there's some things he doesn't do well, but God, he's just unflappable. How do you view Dak?
Yeah, I would agree. And I think being the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys will do that to you. But, there's a saying in quarterback rooms, don't flinch, don't blink, next play. And, he takes his team down, throws the game winner. The play before that, though, he misses the same receiver. Why? I mean, actually, I think he hits him in the privates. The guy almost had to come out of the game. And then luckily there was a timeout. And he was like, man, I can't not be on the field for this last play of the game. But that's what it is to be a great quarterback. that last play that happened, you got to just let it go. That play's over. We're moving on to the next. And I do think Dak Prescott's unflappable. He doesn't care what people say about him. He seems like he and Mike McCarthy are just kind of in lockstep. And, I just think that's the way you got to be as a quarterback. And it's not all about Dak with that team, but he is a very, very important piece to that puzzle. And you saw it last night. He